Hello, fancy seeing you here. Of course, fridge is still full up. This week and Monday, we're looking at Octone Brewing. So come on, let's go share some beers, shall we? Welcome to the first part of this 3 Beer Thursday from Octone Brewing. Octone Brewing, just to give you a bit of background about them, based up in Minakami. They've been brewing since 2018 and it's a husband and wife operation with Yasu and Miwa Takeuchi. Today we're going to look at these 3 beers, so without much further ado, let's start drinking, shall we? So first up, we've got the Octone Yamabito Ale. It's a 5.5% American Pale Ale that's brewed using Cascade hops only. I'm not too sure about the malt, so Yasu, Miwa, if you're watching this, let us know in the comments below what malt you used. But this is actually the first time for me to have any of their beers because they're quite far. But the first thing I notice is it's quite dark actually for an American. Maybe perhaps it's an English style base. It's very fruity. I'd say it's more of an English pale ale than actual American pale ale. The nose is far fruitier, perhaps more yeasty than an American pale ale. It's a little bit sweet, but it's definitely got a citrus nose to it, which is a bit weird for a kind of a British pale ale. It's definitely sweeter than an American one. Got a bitter punch. It's not that potent, but it does go boom, it does fade away. Tastes like Cascade. I mean, it's lemony, a little bit of woodiness to it. A little bit sweet. Again, slight fruitiness coming through from the yeast. 5.5%. It is quite strong for pale ale. I'm not complaining, but yeah, it is definitely, I'd say, rooted in an English pale ale recipe, but the American hops do give a nice citrusy uplift to it. So second on our beers for today, we've got the Octone Upstream IPA. It's a 6.5% juicy IPA, is that style? But this is brewed using Cascade, Citra, Simcoe and Amarillo hops. And this is actually the cryo hop version that was released a bit earlier, I think end of April, was when the kegs came out. I think this bottle came a bit later than that. I've not actually had this one either. It's a little bit dark actually, and it's not, straight away as I look at it, it's not that hazy. I mean, there's a slight haze to it, but it's not that hazy, I guess. Whoa, but the nose really is kind of full of hops. It's lemony, it's grapefruit. There's a slight bit of orange going on. There's a slight dankness to it. Just a faint part there. It's not that sweet either. It's not as sweet as the pale ale, but it packs a bitter punch and it lingers. A little bit sticky. Again, it's got the slight lemony, grapefruit, orange, slight dankness to it. There's a slight woodiness to it. It's not bad. As it warms up, it releases a bit more of that dankness as well, which just takes a bit of the edge of the citrus hops. For the third beer, we've got this, the Octone American Wheat Ale. It's an ale from them, and it's brewed using American hops. It's got Citra and Amarillo in. It's 5%, but I'm actually using this glass. And this is supposed to be an American wheat glass from Spiegelau. And actually, it's the first time I'm going to use this. American wheat ales aren't a style that's popular in Japan. They tend to have Weizens from Germany. So I don't know much about them. I've done a little bit of research, and this is pretty much your kind of an orangey golden colour. A little bit of head going on there. It's quite a lively beer, but it's all about the hops. It's a very lemony, grapefruit, slight wheatiness to it, a little bit creamy. You get your nose in there, and it's certainly pungent, we shall say. It's a little bit of a phenolic nose to it. It's the creaminess and the lemoniness that really comes through the most in this. And it's got a really sweet, sticky, quite full-bodied actually. It's not as dry as American beers I've had tend to be. I mean, if you think of like American Pilsners or American IPAs, they tend to be quite dry in terms of base malts, but this is quite sweet. It's a peculiar one. Like I said, it's sticky, it's got some citrusy notes going on. It's definitely a creamy bit of oatiness going on as well. It's not I don't like it, I do like it. It's just peculiar, which means I've got to drink more to try it. So it's time for the roundup for this week's 3 Beer Thursday from Octone, and it's been a peculiar one. I've used that word quite a lot in this video, and the reason why I say it's peculiar is because the beers were peculiar, not in a bad way. They did match up to style. You know, we did have an American wheat ale, we did have a pale ale, albeit a bit confused with English and American, and we did have a juicy IPA. So when it comes down to ranking them, it's just going to be personal preference, and you know, it's tough to do that at times. But for me, the one that I would probably drink again and again and again, the number one, would be the pale ale. Admittedly, it was a bit strange. It was, you know, English base, American hops. It was weird, but it did work. So, number one. Number two is going to be the wheat ale. Again, it's not something I've had a lot of. It's not a style I had a lot of. I did enjoy it, just not as much as the pale ale. Which means number three is the juicy Upstream IPA. You know, it was juicy. It had the tropical flavors in there, but I enjoyed this one the most. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below what you think of these beers. Thanks for joining us on the first part of the 3 Beer Thursday of Octone Brewing. If you like what we do, hit subscribe and the bell button to get notifications when new videos coming out. And if you really want to help us make more videos about craft beer in Japan, click on the Patreon link just below this video. See you next time for part 2 of the 3 Beer Thursday from Octone Brewing. Enjoy your stay. I promise you just one more week in here, okay? I promise.